Welcome again to another exciting episode of Halftime Adjustments. It's your fill-in host tonight, Mr. J. Lou. Our guy Ed is traveling back. He had the pleasure of seeing Atlanta and Carolina in person today. If y'all don't know, I'm sure he talked about it, but he played college ball with Penix's dad, so they got to go to the game today. So it's your man J. Lou trying to hold it down. I got my guy G Witt with me. How you doing,
Tighten
G
up, baby.
Witt?
Tighten up, baby.
Yes, sir. Tighten up indeed. Well, G Witt, what started on September 8th is a bunch of hope finally comes to an end on January, what are we, the 5th?
January 5th,
2025. We can officially flip the page to the 2025 season. Your Titans suffered 6 losses in a row, 14th on the season today, losing to the Houston Texans 23-14. And G Wick, give me a few thoughts on the game first before we get started.
Okay, let's see. Let's go with some positives. One, it was good to see Calvin Ridley get his money on the catches. He made a great catch on the sideline. He missed a couple of balls, but made a couple of catches. Made one good catch and run yards after the catch. I thought was pretty good. So he did okay. Overall, I thought the offensive line was decent. I thought what happened on a couple of sacks was the fact that they just took too long to get rid of the ball, which is typical of what's been going on this year. And then defensively, I'm just going to say this. I was happy to see Big Jeff and T. Sweat and the D-line trying to ball out and everything. And I thought Brownlee Jr. had a good game. But again, you've been hearing me saying ever since he's been in there, Worley, man, I don't know where they got it from or why they're keeping them. But if you're cutting players, I would say you got to pull what J. Rob did when he first got here. Come February, when it's time to make cuts, you just have to cut him loose.
Oh yeah,
because he's just hampering your back end. I mean, bad angles, don't want to tackle. That long run, if he just pursues the ball and makes the tackle, dude doesn't go for 92 yards, but yet and still he let it go. Didn't even try to catch up with the thing that got me. So anyway, but again, you said the hope we started with, the hope we started with in September, it has long since gone. But we got renewed hope because now we have the number 1 pick in the draft.
Oh yeah. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. A couple of my thoughts, some positives. Like I said, I was glad to see he got close, and you hope the Titans do right by Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
He's definitely, I mean, over the last 5 weeks, played through an injury, has been playing hard. One of the few bright spots on the team, in a position that probably was heavily scrutinized coming into the season. I mean, he's arguably going in the footsteps of a Hall of Famer and Derrick Henry. Yeah. So having to deal with that shadow and dealing with what you dealt with the offensive line, and all, I hope they do right with him. He came a few yards short of getting what he needed to get to hit those incentives. I'll be honest, I thought, and this could be me, because again, I know we've talked on the show a little bit about you're not going to come out and say you're tanking, but how do you tank behind the scenes? I personally thought that Callahan coached a very conservative game.
Yeah,
a very conservative play game. You got to see some young guys get some opportunities that you hope that are under contract, and again can build that depth for next year. I think if you I personally came away from this game, I find it hard, regardless of who was the coach. Well, I'm not going to say regardless of the coaching staff, but I find it hard that either one of these quarterbacks that played today are actually on this roster in the fall of 2025. I think they'll try to trade Will Levis because, and again, we'll get in the draft and whatnot, but I think if you draft somebody, if you draft a quarterback, that's your starting quarterback. And I just don't know if they will put that on Will Levis to be a backup here. I think you have to cut him loose. I think that's why they gave him an opportunity to go out and kind of show that he still is who we thought he was today with some of his throws. And now, again, I will say you saw the arm strength that somebody's going to take a chance on him in the league. Yeah. You saw the arm strength there on a lot of the deep shots. And again, that's what he looks forward to. But I just don't get the feel that either one of them are back. I 1,000% agree with you. As much as my feelings right now on the draft when I kind of talked about him last week about edge. But safety today and over the last couple of weeks, you've got to get, and you had it before Quandre got hurt,
Yeah.
but you got to find some depth there and get somebody to really go with Amani Hooker. I think you saw that today. But overall, again, it was for a team that, again, didn't really have a lot to lose per se playing today. I just thought the game plan was conservative from kicking field. Like as the announcers kept saying, you're 3-14. Why are you kicking field goals? Why are you not going 4 for 4?
Yeah.
Just go for anything. Again, unless behind the scenes you're trying to lose without looking like you're losing. And listen to some of the comments, especially from Big Jeff after the game. It was kind of funny around that situation. But we'll go ahead and get started. So let's talk about the offense. And again, you saw Will Levis, 175 yards, a touchdown, 9 of 17. Again, the completion percentage is not there. You saw the difference, and again, it was great to see from offensive schematic standpoint to see both quarterbacks, because you saw when Mason Rudolph came in there, you saw check down Charlie.
Yeah.
If the deep shot wasn't there, he was going check down, and you saw his tight end today was Wiley, because Chig had an injury pop up. I don't even know if he got on the field.
No, he didn't. Well, they said he did, but I didn't see it.
I never remember seeing him playing a down. But so you saw Wiley, but you saw the difference between Levis and Mason with that, where Levis isn't really checking down. So, tell me a little bit of something else you saw in this offense today.
Well, you hit upon the nail upon the head. I thought, it was a conservative game plan, but I also thought that, again, Levis showed who he was. I mean, he was very inaccurate today, all the way around, and not discount the touchdown pass, because that was like we said, that was a wing and a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I would put it like this: that's more about the receiver as opposed to Will Levis throwing the ball out there.
Did you hear after the game too? The pass wasn't to the receiver that caught it. The play call was to Bryce Oliver.
I know.
He overthrew him. He overthrew him. Yes.
He overthrew him. He just took advantage of the opportunity because he saw the ball and he had a chance to make a play on it. So I don't blame him. He got a touchdown out of it. And he's a highlight reel. But unfortunately, Will Levis is just who he is. And I'm with you. The salary cap and the draft status and all that, how all that contracts work and everything, him being a second round pick. But if he's here next year, I'd be surprised as well. Same with Mason Rudolph. I think both of them showed that they couldn't handle Callahan's offense at all.
Right.
And again, we saw some good play calling from Callahan that should have actually worked. I mean, there was a couple of plays where if Mason Rudolph hits Wiley like he's supposed to, he's close to scoring a touchdown on that play, because blockers were already there and they were in front of him. So all he has to do is make the pass.
Talk about that was the I've never seen it, a flea flicker tight end screen.
Yeah,
that's what that was. Yeah.
The other thing was, I thought Tony Pollard ran well, but again, I think Houston. I would say like this: some of the play calling was definitely predictable.
Yes.
I think Houston's defense, and of course, Houston defense was getting off on the snap count and everything because it never got changed up. But I thought, this was one of the reasons why I think Callahan will be back, is simply because when you go back and look at his overall scheme and everything, he's scheming people open.
Yes.
We just don't have a quarterback that can get the ball to the players when they need to or at the right time. Again, I think once again, they got to fix the offensive line, but that's something we've been hollering about for 3 years. I think they're on their way. I just think they have a lot of work to do as far as that regards. And I will say this, if they make the choice to trade back with that number 1 pick, which I think they should, they got to go out and find a good running back. And only reason it's not that Pollard's not good. Pollard's been a pleasant surprise to me because he's better than I thought he would. The problem you got is that you just don't have enough consistency behind him. Tyjae Spears is good, don't get me wrong. And he's good in catching the ball out of the backfield and all that. He's good in pass pro. I just think you got to go find you a thumper that you're going to need to take some pressure off, especially in these short yardage situations, to take some pressure off and everything. I just think you got to go find you a good thumper, a good aggressive running back, and you can get him. I think you can get one in the later rounds. But offensively, this team – I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I think we're just a good quarterback away from being playoff contenders.
Yeah, now. So thanks again for tuning in to a brand new edition, a final edition of the season for Halftime Adjustments. It's your substitute host tonight, Mr. J. Lou. Mr. J. Lou got my man, Mr. G. Witt with me, and I host Ed Arnell. He's in the chat. And speaking of the chat, let me get some of these comments in. So apologies because this is new to me, guys. But Dion, that loss was beautiful. Way to take it, Dion. Dion, not only was the loss beautiful, but about 30 seconds later, when you saw that the Bills failed on 4th and 10, and you knew that the Patriots was taking the knee, that made it that much sweeter. Mikey Jones, thanks for checking in tonight. Who y'all want to draft? I'm sure Mikey will get into that. If you're asking me right now on January 5th, I have two options, option A and option B. Option A is I would trade back no further than 4th. Because I think 4th, you still get. I'm under the mindset of Abdul Carter, the edge rusher, and trading back 4th, you more than likely will pick up another 1st. You probably need you need to pick up another 3rd because right now your third round pick goes to the Kansas City Chiefs and it's going to be a top 2 pick. Because I did find out today that digging in on the draft, the Titans will pick 1st in the 1st round, then they'll pick 2nd in the 3rd. 3rd in the 4th, and then it rotate between the bottom 3 teams. So they won't pick 1st again to the 4th. So in essence, the Chiefs pick that they got in the 3rd round to be 2nd of the 3rd. But I think you trade back and you can get a nice hefty pickup. So that's option A. Option B, if you stick with one right now, I think they would lean. If you stick with option B and you stick with quarterback, I think you lean towards Shedeur because I just think, especially if you bring back Brian Callahan and what he wants to do on his play calling, I think Shedeur is more suited to do that in his offense.
As opposed to Cam Ward?
Yeah. I think Shedeur is more suited from a timing and everything that Callahan wants to do. I think he fits more than what they like with Cam Ward. Well, of course, Will says do not trade back. Appreciate you joining, Will. Mr. K. Lou, tighten up. Dion, you bring Tony back. That's a no-brainer. We got pieces to build around. He's one of them for sure. Yeah, Tony's definitely under contract, Dion. And again, this was the talk in the offseason. We thought, and this is one of them I think, G. Witt, we could say we was actually kind of hit on in our predictions. Yeah. We thought that we would see a better Tony Pollard coming out that 2nd year removed from that major injury, and you saw that. Of course, Ed comes down to Ward or Sanders, or do you go with best player, which is Hunter, or trade back no further than 4th? See, great minds think alike. Rodney Gaddis, what's going on, fellas? Thank you for joining the show tonight, Rodney. Nathan, thanks for seeing here. Draft Hunter or get a bridge quarterback. Nathan, I actually think that if this staff stick around, I think that's in play as well, especially the bridge quarterback. I think they could do something there. Right place, right time for that wide receiver. Yeah, Dion, if you go back and just look at that replay, the safety, you've never seen a more disgusted look from a safety than him just standing there like, oh, I'm about to get this interception, and then just drops his shoulders when it was a touchdown. Dion, again, running back, Cam Scatterbo. That's not Scatterbo to me is somebody, to your point about G. Witt getting the running back 3rd, 4th, 5th round. He's somebody that I think could be there, especially with you being on the top end. There wouldn't be a bad pickup. Edward Lede, tighten up, fellas. Welcome to the show, Edward. And then our host puts out there, what about Jackson Dart? That's another one that could be further on down, 4th, 5th round. Because again, the only quarterbacks you hear him talking about right now, and again, we've got the underwear Olympics and these Senior Bowls and everything coming up. So somebody will jump in. To me, what the loss did for you today is it gives you a chance to reset and get some talent into your organization the correct way through the draft. We've missed on 3 drafts. That's why you're in the position you're in now. Number 1 lets you control the draft, whether you trade out, whether you pick, except you have your host of everything. And, speaking of Jackson Dart, you as a Titans fan and as a Titan, is the brass of the Titans organization, you're hoping that between the combine and the Senior Bowls and all that, another 2 quarterbacks jump up to that conversation where you have somebody who's willing to mortgage their farm to come up and get somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it really right now, like you said, you control the draft. You if anybody wants anything, they're going to come to you. They're going to see what you want. And if like I said, if they're keeping Rand and they're keeping Callahan, if I'm Rand, I'm like, you got to give me a lot in order to get this number 1 pick. I'm not just giving it up. Bottom line is, because you could tell the rumor mill has already started. They're putting out there that there are NFL executives who don't think Shedeur Sanders is a number 1 pick or a top pick quarterback or anything like that. So you see how all this is starting to play around, and it affects us more because we're right there at the beginning of it.
Yes.
But I'm of the mindset right now, if you can, I'm with you on your first on option A. You trade back 4th, I would say no lower than 5th, and try to get as much as you can and try to build your team in the right way, because you got some serious needs. You need an edge rusher. You need another cornerback. You need a right tackle.
Right tackle.
Right tackle. And you need to go out and you could do this in later rounds, but you got to get some extra picks. You need to go out and find a center. You need to go find some depth for your offensive line. Especially in the interior. You got to do that. And seemed like you did fairly decent with the wide receiver core that you got right now with your undrafted free agents and everything. If any of those come back and play well, then on the outside you're good. But you got to find some key pieces on the inside on offense in order to make this offense work. And getting a bridge quarterback, if you can find a decent one, that's the problem.
Yeah,
that's the problem. I know a lot of people looking at Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson showed his true colors last night.
Oh yeah.
When Pittsburgh, had to have a first down and everything, and needed to save time. Why in the devil do you, instead of throwing the ball away, you try to run upfield and take on a tackle and everything? You wasted all the time you had. So it just didn't make any sense. So you see Russell Wilson. Everybody. It's amazing how the playoffs brings the true colors out. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what it is. It's playoff football in Pittsburgh. And you saw Russell not able to handle the pressure. I don't know who you could get. I know the rumor mill is out there talking about Aaron Rodgers coming here. Much as I don't like Aaron Rodgers on a personal basis, if you think he can run your offense, as long as you ain't letting him control your team, you might be able to get something out of it.
Oh, yeah. Again, thank you for joining your halftime adjustments tonight. We'll flip it over and talk about the defense a little bit. And again, when you start looking at the stats, I mean, Texas had 18 first downs, ran 58 plays, total yards, 374 yards, 167 on passing. But again, the big thing is I think sticks out. And you take the 92-yarder out there and they still over 100, but you had 207 rushing yards on 29 attempts, 7.1 a carry. 1 for 4 in the red zone is what you saw from the Texans today. And again, we got to take that with a grain of salt that they were playing backup as well, but their backups were going against our ones for most of the time. So, DG, we'll talk to me about the defense a little bit.
Well, I would say this. The defense, I'm going to say, was a little bit disappointing. But, again, I can understand their frustration in the fact that they would stop them and with the exception of their first drive, they actually did a good job stopping the Texans, slowing them down and everything. But again, I always look at it like this. And again, I'm not going to bring his name up, but this is very familiar to me. You have a defense that's actually pretty good, but because your offense is so bad and keeps putting the defense in bad position, the defense looks worse than they actually are. And you got some substitute players in there that just have not panned out the way you want to. You got some that have, but you got some that just have not. I mean, linebackers, you saw Williams, you saw Gray. I think Gray played a little bit, but you saw Williams playing most of the time, and he was pretty much out of position on a lot of plays, missed it. You saw Brown. I think it was Brown on one play on the long run. He took the outside instead of the inside, so he was coming from behind. But again, you saw Worley just take an angle like, I don't want to tackle the running back, so he took a bad angle and just let the guy run past him. Roger McCreary had a rough day, I thought.
He did.
The PI that didn't make any sense. Brownlee Jr., like I said, I thought he had a good day. And again, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm a little bit. I'm going to say I'm even keel on the defensive line because again, you got them guys out there all the time, and I'm pretty sure they just got worn out. So, but that long run really just gashed them, and after that, you can see the wind was taken out of the defensive cell after that long run.
Yeah, no, and again, that long run, if I'm not mistaken, I think Gifford was linebacker in on that one as well. And you see why he's a special teamer. The injuries did start to decimate this defense a little bit. And we said it, excuse me, we said it in the offseason. You had to start at 11.
Yeah.
Once you got past that, good luck.
Yeah.
It was good to see you continue to see Big Sweat continue to play more third downs. I think he has to develop a pass rush this offseason to get to that next step. Like seeing him, you got to see a lot more of the younger guys. Still weak there at the linebacker spot. Tackling, man, tackling has been horrible for 18 straight weeks.
Yeah,
and that's something that we always talk about coaching. You got to go back and look at coaching, and I'm again depending on what we see with staff or whatnot. I know that's some changes they'll have to make because that's two things you got to fix on this team. And that we heard about a lot was we didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback and tackling. You talk about pursuit and tackling. It was poor. To say the least, and I mean Angles, your guy Worley, whoo, he is a walk-in business decision.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to
absolutely
tackles, back there, and again, I thought this was by far Rodgers' worst game all season.
Yeah.
I think he just got worked a little bit this game. Brownlee, again, when you start looking for bright spots, that's a 5th round draft pick. That's probably quiet as it's kept. He's probably your second starting corner next year on the outside because you theoretically could trade Cheeto, who I hadn't been impressed with, and get out that contract. And you start looking for veterans that you could trade to add some more draft picks. He would be one that would be on my list. And again, Harold Landry, good to see him get a sack and down there. He finished, I think, either 1 sack or half a sack short of half a sack short again for double digits. Did get 50.5 for his career. Could have. Possibly might have been his last game. You don't know. Because again, his contract, when you start looking at trade value, his contract is at the point where you could eat that one as well and trade and get some value out of there. So it'd be interesting to see what they do moving forward to add some pieces. I feel like you've got good young talent at each level. You got Sweat that's young. I still think the sample size is out on Gray and Williams for linebackers. They just didn't get enough playing time. And then on the back end, we just talked about Brownlee Jr. So you have at least got 3 building blocks. It was something interesting I saw on social media during the game or whatnot that some of the press in the press box was just comment, how many Titans do they think are currently on the roster that will be on the roster come 2027 when they go into the – and when you start – that's the young core that you need to have you ready to contend when that new stadium opens 2 seasons from now. So you talk about your Sweats, your Brownlee Juniors, even Williams and whatnot. You're hoping that we've had these conversations 2 years from now. That's our core piece of our defense is really rocking and rolling from that standpoint. And I want to get some more of these comments in. Eddie Gray, what's up, Eddie Gray? What's up, fellas? Eddie had one. Eddie was talking about he liked Gabriel from Oregon, I believe. And then Ed put in there he's not impressed against him about that Ohio State defense. I don't think Ohio State losing to Michigan woke them up. Here's a question. Draft a left tackle and swap Latham to right.
Yeah, that's been put out there.
Has been floated out there. It wouldn't shock me. Let me rephrase it. It all stems, I think, on who is running this team 2 weeks from now.
That's true.
That literally, because if you stay status quo, I could see that being way down the line. But I think Daddy Callahan would want to go into the offseason and give Latham another season. You got to think Latham made the switch in the offseason.
Yeah.
So if he stays at right tackle in the fall of this year, he at least goes through an offseason having played that position again. So I would think Callahan would want to keep that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. and really, in all honesty, I understand that concept of possibly moving Latham to right tackle, but I think you also got to look at the fact that if you really think about it, from September, October to really toward play too bad. He was actually really solid at left tackle. So to your point, giving him a whole off season at left tackle, not having to deal with that rookie wall anymore, give him some rest and give him some opportunity to work. Because one thing you know about Latham that we have figured out, he's a worker.
Oh yeah.
He's going to work on this technique. He's going to do whatever he has to do to get better. So to me, I think you keep him at left tackle, but you got to find somebody who's going to solidify your right tackle spot. Again, our right tackle situation took a major hit when the guy we brought in as a free agent retired on
him. Yeah.
And that really just threw the whole system in a quandary. So I think that with the right tackle situation, you're going to have to find one in the draft, just like you got to find a center in the draft, because you got to find a good backup center. And it's a lot going on. I would say this: the one thing I did notice, and I've been noticing it a lot here lately. If you notice, you see, especially since Cheeto came back, you notice they're not throwing the Brownlee side as much as they used to.
No. Nah.
And that lets you know how good he's actually been playing. And the thing I like about him is that when he sees the quote unquote number one receiver come to his side, he goes right up on him and puts his hand out like, I'm putting my hands on you right here in this 5-yard deal to slow you down and everything. So you like the way he's learning he's keeping up his technique, he's improving. So yeah, I think you got your a solid corner, could be your number one corner. In the long run, I think Sweat is definitely one for the long haul. The only thing I would say about Sweat is that he needs to work on his strength.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons why you're not seeing much of a pass rush up the middle with him. Offensive linemen have been pretty good at about holding him off and everything, but I think if he improves his strength in the offseason, I think you'll see him be more effective next season.
Oh yeah. Darius Williams, thanks for joining the show. He mentioned Aaron Rodgers, trying to clean up some of these comments again. That Aaron Rodgers one is floating out there. Again, I'm with you from a talent standpoint. You've got to have the Jets are a dysfunctional organization, and I don't want the Titans to go down that road. They've been that way. You've got to get Aaron Rodgers, the football player, to come in here, and I think you'll be good. Dion, off topic. J. Lou, that drinking container keeps getting bigger every week, bro. Dion, it's the same size, man, that it's been for week one, man. I gotta hydrate with my water. You hear my voice a little froggy today anyway, but I appreciate that, Dion. Let's see, Eddie Gray. Yeah, Eddie Gray. I saw that the King was 80 yards away from having 2,000-yard seasons. Yeah, and 80 yards with like 14 minutes to go. So we know we've seen that happen.
Yeah. Good
Rodney,
thing he still set an NFL record because he's
the oldest player
to have 1,900 yards.
Yep. Rodney, I lost Rodney's. We have a lot of holes to fill in the offseason. Agreed, Rodney. Now, I will say this. We got a lot of, we don't have as many holes, I don't think, as we had last year, but we got plenty of holes. You still got about 55-ish or take million in cap space. And again, 56. And you've got to spend 90% of your cap in a rolling 3-year average. So you might see them. I don't think you'll see $250 million again this year, but should see a high amount. The thing is going to come down to is who's running the team and what can you sell free agents on to get here. You sold some of them on the hope that Will Levis was going to be the QB. What's your saving grace now to get him here? What Eddie Gray say? No, don't trade Cheeto until you know how Snead's knee hold up. So Eddie, I hear you there. The injury with Cheeto, with Snead wasn't even his knee, which is crazy. It was a darn quad, but I hear you there. And I'm just mentioning Cheeto, Eddie Gray, just because of from a contract situation that some of the veterans get. But I'm with you. I'm all for bringing him back because you absolutely have no idea. You're hoping that Snead comes back.
Yeah.
I think Landry is supposed to make like $24 million next season or something close. Yeah, his cap hit is around that, Dion. But again, he has an out. If the Titans decide to move on, they would need to do it after June 1st, and it will not be a detriment to their cap space.
Right.
Here's one, and then Eddie Gray again. Appreciate Eddie Gray that he's mentioned it, and when he mentions this comment, it's true. He said John O looked good today. I thought John O looked well as well. Yeah. I'm used to just seeing 61 come in the game to be tackle eligible, but he got the start today, and I thought he held up pretty well today.
Yeah, he only gave up one sack or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought he did well. And again, that's been the rotating door. Dion again. Latham's been very solid, like left tackle majority of the season. One of the best for a time until that rookie wall slam. And I agree. That rookie wall hit it about week 12 or 13, and he was a roller coaster since then. Yeah. So again, you hope that folks like him, and again, Big Sweat, and even Brownlee to an extent, they've got their first NFL season out of the way. They're going into their first NFL off season. Yeah. That's not straight from college, because there really is no break in between that. Think about it. A lot of these guys last year, if their seasons ended in December, January, they're right into training, right into to combine, etc. With the NFL, you at least know that most of these guys are going to take 4 to 6 weeks away. They'll tell you to get away for a short period of time.
Yeah, at least a month.
At least a month before we look up in this seat, ramping back up for the offseason. So it'll be good. They know what their bodies can expect for NFL season. Eddie Gray again. If Eddie Gray said he's out on Rodgers.
Hey, like I said, if you can get Rodgers to understand you're coming here to play quarterback and not run the team.
Oh yeah.
If you can get Rodgers the quarterback, you might be able to do something with it. I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm just saying he could be a good bridge, because there's a couple of drawbacks with Rodgers. His attitude is funky because he's not good with teammates and everything. Mm-hmm. And the other thing about it is, he's not going to help you develop your quarterback that's coming up behind him.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that. So you're just getting him to be a bridge, and you're trusting your coaches to develop the quarterback that's coming up behind him.
No, I agree. If Henry, here's one. I skipped this one. Let me go back to that comment. So here's one. It goes about the draft. And again, this is from our good old host, Ed. He said, what about Brownlee Jr. and Travis Hunter?
Hey,
sign me up.
I'm with that.
You then have two dogs that's out there on each side. So I mean that one right there might not be a bad idea.
Like I said, the only thing about Travis Hunter, in all honesty, that scares me is just that he's played so many snaps in college. That's the only thing about him that scares me. I'm more worried about his body being worn out than anything else. His skill level is all there. If you got him in corner, you just got to make sure he knows, like, look, you're not playing receiver. You're going to play corner. Yeah. And you're getting ready to be physical, get up in a physical league, so you got to get ready and build your strength up. But other than that, technique-wise and all of that, you draft him.
Let's see. A couple more comments. I think, again, from Eddie Gray. Appreciate it again, Eddie. I think we ride with Njoku at right tackle. I think about the Aussie who plays for the Eagles, came into the league in the same program. Absolutely right. Yeah. With that one. Eddie again mentioned if Henry didn't break his foot in 21, he could possibly have 3. Yeah, if he didn't break his foot, he's breaking the season record that year. Yeah. They were on a mission. And then Dion, here's one. I think it'll be way too premature to oust Rand and Callie. I think Amy needs to let them keep building this team and let things develop like they want. So Dion, I'm kind of torn there, because I agree with you. I do. I think the cupboard was bare that they were trying to that they took over. My only devil's advocate, I guess I'll play, is the number one pick allows you to, if you think that you want to reset your organization, it allows you to do that from head to toe. And by that I mean, and it was a stat. Again, I seen, if you go back to, I think, from when Fisher was fired, the GM and the head coach have not been on the same the same time frame since then. So you've either had the GM who was hired first and inherited a coach, or a coach who inherited the GM, vice versa, back and forth. So if you think about it, when just going back to John Robinson, John Robinson was a GM and he inherited Munchak. He fired Munchak.
No. He inherited Malarkey.
Malarkey. That's what I meant. Malarkey.
Here's how, historically, here's how it went. Ever since Jeff Fisher got fired, because before Jeff Fisher got fired, that's when Floyd Reese retired in 2006.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's when they brought in.
Was that Rustin? Was that who was that? Was that Weber? We can't hear you, G Wit. Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, I was saying the GM that they had when they fired Jeff Fisher was Mike Reinfeld. I think that's.
Reinfeld. Yeah.
Okay, so he was the GM during the Munchak era until about halfway through. Then he got fired, and then I think the last year of Munchak, and he's the one that was GM when they brought in Ken Whisenhunt.
Gotcha.
And then in the middle of the second season, I think he got fired. And got fired at the end of the season. Then she hired, I think, J-Rob, and J-Rob inherited Malarkey.
Yeah.
Because when Whisenhunt got fired in November, Malarkey took over as the interim. And remember, Delaney Walker was campaigning for Malarkey to be the head coach. And let's be truthful about it. A lot of people didn't like him, but he's the one that started the change of culture.
Oh, yeah.
Titans at that time. J-Rob came in and built on that. And then, of course, after they went to and beat Kansas City and then lost to the Patriots, they fired Malarkey and brought in Vrabel.
Yep. So again, to tell you, Dion, that's the only reason that I could see if she went that way, is that you reset everybody. I want to get a question in from Nathan. Nathan put in, do we bring back Cushenberry at center? Yeah, Cushenberry, he signed the biggest contract, just had a freak injury. You want to bring him back because he was playing very well. And he's a good size center for you, and you need Brunskill, if you bring him back, to go back to that utility role to be a backup. And then introducing the history lesson with G Wit. I like that from the host. And then Malarkey should have never been fired. He reestablished the team identity. So Eddie Gray, I'm glad you brought that up, because that goes back to what I am saying about possibly firing Callahan and Rand. The wild card in all of this is one Amy Adams Strunk.
That's true.
Because you just don't know. Now, again, we know as fans that the loss today could possibly, if you don't mess it up, could possibly set this team up to get back on a winning track, especially having the first round owning it all. What we don't know is how embarrassed Amy Adams might have been about this Oilers stuff that they had on today and getting smacked by the team in Houston, because we know how that goes. 2 years in a row. You're 0-2 when you want to be petty and wear the Oilers uniforms against the Texans. So that's the wild card. I think the other wild card would be, yes, it went bad because there's no, my only problem is that the Titans never embraced the rebuild when we should have embraced it. And again, no team's going to say they rebuilding, but they didn't embrace it. You don't know what the conversations were that were had between Rand and between Callahan as far as what it will take to get this back on track. And the
conversation they had to have with Amy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean with the conversations with Amy. I will say that the Patriots firing Gerard Mayo before he got to the showers, to the locker room after the game today, it possibly couldn't bode well for Callahan, for the reason being, and again, I'm putting myself in Amy's shoes, somebody who's just sporadic at times. If you can see her saying, if an organization like the Patriots can be one and done with a handpicked coach, then maybe I won't be so bad doing one and done and see if I can find mine. Because again, think about she already got backlash. Think about your owner. She already caught a lot of backlash from every media personality for firing Vrabel last year. who's probably going to be the Patriots head coach by the end of this week. And then if she would have just been one and done with him, how much backlash you get from that? But if good old Kraft can do it, then I might can do it. So it's going to be an interesting 72 hours over at Ascension Sports St. Thomas Park, just because you don't know. Again, some staff changes are going to happen. I think Colt Anderson is gone, regardless of if they come back.
You'll see some position coaches gone.
Position coaches gone, but you don't know if there'll be some front office shakeups. And again, that's just the wild card because we don't hear from Amy.
Well, here's my thing, and I understand the media's thing about what happened last year because it came out of left field and nobody had any idea it was coming. But Amy had reason for getting rid of Mike Vrabel that the media generally does not understand. And I forgot who it was that brought it out. I can't remember. It was I know it was one of the local media, but I can't remember who it was. But they said it basically what it was that Mike Vrabel wanted total control over the roster as well as the coaching staff. And what caused it was that Amy remembered what happened with Bud when he allowed Jeff Fisher to have control of the roster and the coaching staff. And she was like, that is not going to happen under my tenure. So rather than have a conflict between the coach and the GM for the entire season, she went ahead and got rid of Mike Vrabel.
Oh, yeah.
Strange. But I think personally, and going back to your point, I think we have to look at it from a standpoint when you talk about the GM and the coach not coming in at the same time. I think we have to also look at it from the standpoint that Rand is the one who hired Callahan and actually was with him in this whole staff pickup. So I think she's going to give that, like I've been saying it all season, she's going to give it at best half the season to see some turnaround. And if we don't see any turnaround for half the season, they're going to be gone.
Oh yeah.
I just think that Amy's not going to pull the trigger like that. I think a lot of people think because of what she did last year is going to happen again this year. I just don't see Amy doing that. And she's not exactly like her dad when it comes to football. Now, Bud would do it.
Oh, if Bud was still around, we could guarantee that he would be drafting Travis Hunter as well because he loved Heisman Trophy winners. We would already know who that number one pick would be.
But in all honesty, I just think it's just my opinion. And I think if you really trying to build a program and you see that your offense works and you're on a good quarterback away from being competitive, I think she gives it another year.
Let's see. Eddie Gray again. Thank y'all for joining another edition of Halftime Adjustments. I'm Mr. J. Lou filling in tonight for our guy Ed, Mr. G. Witt, talking about the Texans over the Titans 23-14 in our final regular season game, where a loss actually became a win for the Titans. You can say that today. With Rodney Gaddis, Vrabel is getting that Patriots job. Eddie Gray, again, going back to Scatterbo. Scatterbo needs to be our pick on day 2. I agree. I think he can be he's a day 2 pick. And again, I say day 2 if you can get back in that third round too. Yeah. But I think that I agree. Dion, they need to be talk to Amy. We need to go back to Houston Oilers running shoot days before Tennessee. Eddie Gray, I 100% agree. Kraft saw that Vrabel had a great meeting with the Jets and he pulled the plug, and it was somebody else that had Rodney. Rodney, thank you again. Rodney had it on here again that people forget Kraft and Vrabel made that move last offseason. Yeah, when Vrabel went up there and got inducted in the Hall of Fame during the bye week and all, it has been behind the scenes. So again, we didn't hit on special teams today. One thing I wanted to bring up from special teams is that somebody, and again, Colt, I'm going to miss screaming at you next year because I don't think you're going to be a part of this coaching staff. But somebody's got to explain to me why Bryce Oliver wasn't your returner all year long. I get it. You drafted Jaquan Jackson, and Titans fans and our fans of this show, we were talking about Bryce Oliver in the preseason. We were glad you kept him, find a way to get him on the field, etc. He looked dynamic back there. Now he don't know how to take handoffs. We saw that he didn't have his hands right for the pitch. But from a kickoff standpoint, he showed you a ton of explosion today, and I just can't figure out why that's not been back there. We saw him. We mentioned it for the last 5 weeks or so that, he's been one of the gunners on your punt coverage team, and we saw him on that position. But when I seen him today take off a few times on kickoff returns, I was like, yeah, this is again another coaching malpractice where he should have been. That's a role he probably should have had a chance at some weeks ago.
He should have been returning kickoffs from the get-go. In all honesty, I thought and he should have been on the punt coverage team from the get-go. But the way, because when you stop and think about it, your punt coverage today was the best it's been all season.
Yes,
and you had two new people. You had Oliver as a gunner. You had, I forgot who the other guy was as the gunner.
I can't remember
on the opposite side. But you had two gunners that could get down there, and actually, when the ball hit the ground, they're right there at it.
Right there, Hardy Jr. Thanks Ed for that, Hardy Jr. Yeah.
I mean, where they been? You know what I mean? That just don't. You've had them on the team, and you haven't used them like that. That concerns me. And again, I thought your boy Stonehouse, he did good today. His punts were good. I thought, and looked like he had pretty good hang time. I towards the end, I wasn't really paying that much attention, but and they only had one miss up on a kick coverage. So, but they, it is what it is. But I agree with you. I think Cope might be one of your coordinators that's gone. But I know Eddie put up there about you don't see Cali surviving 0-4 and 0-5. No, I definitely do not see him surviving that. Again, They gotta win. It ain't about just showing improvement. Like, they got to win. And when I talk about if they show improvement, I'm talking about they win games. They start off today this season. Remember, what was it? 0-3?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you're not going to do that again. You're not going to do that again. I mean, and as a coach and a GM, you got to be thinking to yourself, we cannot start with 2 straight losses.
No.
You just can't do that no more.
So
the schedule's a lot tougher next season than it was this season.
Yeah, so I was going to say that. So the schedule for next year, you'll play the NFC West. So you go to Arizona, you play at Denver. Of course, you get the NFC South at home. We go out to Vegas finally. You'll play at San Francisco, and then home. These are the home games in Nissan next year. Outside of the 3 divisional games, you get Patrick Mahomes. You get the Chargers, Justin Herbert. You get the Rams, who's possibly Matt Stafford. You get Seattle. You'll get New England. You'll get Cincinnati. No, not Cincinnati. You'll get Cleveland, and you will get the Saints. They finished last in the NFC South. So you get the Saints. So again, another last place schedule that's not last place now.
That's right.
And again, everything has a lot of factors in that, but just going on paper right now, you get Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert yet again in Nissan Stadium. So I agree. Don't see him starting off. Drafted another one. Eddie Gray Willis to Oliver could have been the next great dynamic deal. I agree with you. Malik, quiet as it kept. Malik might get some playing time in the playoff game next week.
Yep.
Depending on how that injury was to Mr. Love. Nathan Moat, another comment. Thank you again. Drafting edge to pair with Landry, or do we move on from Landry? I say if you want to move on from anybody and you draft somebody else, you move on from him, because you got to start looking at, and this is the Landry to me. And again, I'm not putting him on the same level as Derrick Henry. So don't criticize me for that. But what I'm saying is, to me, he's in the same position that you were in with Derrick Henry a year and a half ago, where you let Derrick Henry walk in the offseason and you got nothing in return because you spent so much in free agency as well that you're not going to get a compensatory pick for him. Landry, you don't want to be in that same boat because there's value in Landry's skill set.
Yeah.
He's definitely, you pair him with somebody who has a strong edge rusher, he can win one-on-ones by himself, and I think a different scheme he fits. I personally would move on from him and get, even if I'm getting the 4th, 5th round pick, something like that from him, I would get all the draft picks I need, because you need to build this team through the draft when you missed for 3 straight years.
Yeah, absolutely. And much as And again, I would hate to see Landry go as well. But bottom line is, I agree with you, J. Lou. We got to build through the draft, and there are some good defensive players coming out in the draft this year. So you can actually get some guys. You could actually end up getting somebody maybe like a Will Anderson coming out in the draft who can help you out immediately. You know, and again, it all depends on your scouting department. You got to find the right guys. But again, you know, you find that Brownlee Jr. came out and helped you immediately. So you got to look at it from that standpoint that you can actually go out there and find somebody who's going to help you immediately in the draft and bring them on. And all of a sudden now, again, you're talking about your core. When you get ready for 2027, you got it set on the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball. So I agree. In this draft, if you can, you got to be able to you got to be able to find somebody who's desperate for a quarterback and who is willing to trade. Because what did the Giants drop down to?
4th.
Yeah, the Giants are going to be desperate for a quarterback, so you can easily talk to them and maybe get something out of it if you can get enough draft picks from them.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm right on that because I know it's just the Giants are 3rd. I'm sorry, Giants are 3rd. New England dropped to 4th. Jacksonville rise out the top 5, and the Raiders have moved. The Jets must have won today because the Raiders moved up to 6th. So I'll be honest. Don't be surprised if you hear rumblings of the Titans dropping down to 6. I think you can get to 6 and still might be able to get Abdul Carter. But I think the Raiders would be a willing partner for Shedeur, and Eddie just put it in the chat as well. They're willing partners for a ransom. You can get a ransom from the Raiders at 6, and I still think you'll be able to get Abdul Carter in that position. So it's going to be interesting. Again, we want to thank y'all for joining us tonight. Mr. J. Lou, I've been substitute hosting tonight. My guy G Witt. We appreciate Ed behind the scenes running the tech for us and running the chat. End of the season, G Witt. I mean, you told us you didn't want to sit through a 3-14. We pulled you through it. We hope not to be sitting through this again next year. I know that's right. It's going to be interesting. Of course, we'll be putting some content out during the off season. It's about to become my season now. I like to draft, and we got to get through the combine and all that mess. It's going to be interesting. Again, let's see what Dion got in here. In my opinion, Rand don't get enough credit for his draft last year. A majority of rookies were able to come in and contribute day one or when needed, unlike before. No, I agree, Dion. He's when you talk about so last year's class would be Spears in that class, right? Spears. Yeah. Last year's class don't get enough credit because of the quarterback decision. Yeah. If we're being honest, the quarterback decision and not only quarterback decision, but because you chose, in essence, a tackle that you made guard with like number 10 or 11, who again, today was the first sack Peter gave up in the last 9 weeks, I believe. Yeah. He just got bull rush. And it happens. They're going to win one-on-ones. It happens. But I agree with you, Dion. He's laid the foundation that if you can get Spears and company to take even bigger steps in year 3, and you get Brownlee Jr. in this class right here to take bigger steps in year 2, on top of another decent draft, you just infuse your team with some young talent pieces that hopefully we can go do some things with. You made this 2024 draft. Well, that one as well, too. Yeah, that's what it's doing. When the 2024 draft don't get enough credit yet because usually you start giving the credit on the draft classes 2 to 3 years down. Yeah. You'll have some rookies that can come in. So now, to your point, they want to see, well, can Sweat and all them, what does the sophomore slump look like for them next year? But I agree that the 2024 draft was a lot better than the first one he had, 2023. Yeah. Just because of some of the depth pieces and the quality of players and when he found them as well.
And I'll be honest with you, and the more I think about it, the more I believe Levis could have been a Vrabel pick.
He could have been. We will never know, but he could have been. Yeah, he could have been. So
Rand was riding the tightrope on doing that draft.
Yes, he was. Let's see, Nathan. Yeah, it was a rough one for sure. That's right, Nathan. It was. So again, we appreciate it. We appreciate you joining us tonight. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, share. We appreciate y'all riding with us for a whole nother year. Keep those alerts on because, again, we like to do breaking news. So if something happens this week with, coaching, big coaching changes or GM changes, keep it out. We might get on and jump on and talk about it for a second, but we will be getting with you guys in the off season. But again, I've enjoyed it tonight. I've been your substitute host, Mr. J. Lou, my man G. Witt, my man Ed behind the scenes. We're out of here. Peace.